Yo, what is up everyone, back here with another video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the two most recent tournaments that happened, but specifically more so the first one, the Nino Pokebro Scarlet Violet Free-For-All. The reason why I'm going to be focusing more on this one is because this one out of both tournaments this weekend did have the most entrants out of them, right? And also had probably the most stacked field, but it is still worth talking about the other one as well. I'll be bringing that up. You know, definitely this tournament was a little bit more stacked than the second one, but the second one still had some solid players in there. So pretty much with the first tournament, Dondozo and Tatsugiri ended up winning. Now this pair has been incredibly dominant all over the course of all of VGC Series 1 so far. And notably, the only main difference that's made is what Dondozo set's being run. So on the champion team, Santi's team, he was running Wave Crash, Order Up, Substitute Protect with Dragon type. So notably, Amoonguss actually did some work into it as long as they were able to get rid of the substitute. So what does this mean, right? So these kind of teams are just incredibly strong right now because with the Talonflame and the Goldingo, they force immediate offense into you and are able to pressure you immediately with Make It Rain. You know, they have Meowscarada with Choice Band, able to Flower Trick you. They have a Murkrow with Goldingo. You have a bunch of different options here. But after you clear with that, then you bring in Dondozo Tatsugiri, you sweep the game, right? So there's a lot you can do there. Now, it is worth noting that there were some new balance teams that popped up. So for example, this team was a pretty balanced team that I definitely took interest in. Now, I don't necessarily think it's fully optimized, but it does have a pretty interesting build. It was actually using some interesting concepts with Tailwind Hydreigon to kind of speed up their team. And I thought that that was a really cool concept to explore more. And it's something I could definitely see being used in the future, right? At this point, I think we've seen that what makes Hydreigon good is the flexibility that it has with its different sets it can run. So the main two sets that I've seen that work really well that are newer sets, not the older sets, because obviously we know Assault Vest is good, Specs is good, Life Orb, right? I've seen the Scope Lens Focus Energy set, and the reason why they use that is because it breaks through Dondozo. I believe it's Terra-type Fire, and it's Draco Meteor and Heat Wave. And the reason why they do that is because what they're trying to do is they're trying to crit through any boost that you may have. It's 100% guaranteed crit once you focus energy and you have scope lens. So you can basically crit through Dondozo, you can crit through other setup, you can do a bunch of stuff. So it's a super useful thing to utilize and something I would definitely expect to see more. Sash though, I'm not so sure. So the reason why I'm not so sure about Sash is because with Focus Sash, it so you absorb any hit that you're taking, right? So you can deal back a Draco Meteor into another Hydreigon. You're not relying on a speed tie. But once your Sash is broken, you basically have no item. So it's a drawback, right? There are trade-offs. As well, too, the Arcanine was not running Intimidate. So to me, that was incredibly interesting. I found that, as well, the Flare Blitz Will-O-Wisp Snarl set is still really good. It's just that, people are dropping Intimidate so they don't proc Annihilate. And even the situations where they do have Intimidate, it's not usually for the Intimidate. It's just bonus. Now here we have Big Mike's team. So this is a standard team that we've seen before. Chongjun used this in Victory Road and had a lot of success with it. He was basically able to take the team, do super well with it, and run these sets. And Mike just took the same team and did the same thing. So he was able to kind of utilize the same team. Notably, it's Fire Blast Hydreigon. This is so you can pick up Goldingo with a single target Fire Blast. If you're Assault Vest and you're running Heat Wave, you miss the Goldingo KO. And that's pretty bad, right? You don't want to be missing KOs on Goldingo. The point of Hydreigon is to be able to get rid of opposing Goldingo, and if you can't get rid of them immediately, then you're kind of in trouble. And if your team's designed where it doesn't matter, then you won't bring Hydreigon to Goldingo usually. So, and this team looks like it needs something for Goldingo because most of the other options look pretty passive into it. So Terra-type Fire makes a lot of sense to break through that, right? As well, too, it's Terra-type Fire on Annihilate with leftovers. I could definitely see Safety Goggles working here as well. And basically, it's just meant to set up Annihilate. Bulk Up Annihilate is still really strong in this metagame. It's being used a lot because it's just a strong option that people have to consider. And it's a big setup threat, right? As well, too, what's really interesting is that the Azumarill was not Belly Drum. It's just straight up a Liquidation Play Rough Aqua Jet set. So it does put on pressure in its own way, right? Then here, right, we have a Tailwind team used by Loving Q. And pretty much it's like a Tailwind team with some variations on it that kind of make it tricky, right? So normally when you're playing versus a Tailwind team, you don't necessarily need to worry about Rain, but it is Rain. Clear Amulet Quaquaval with the defensive Terra, so it can get around Amoonguss, and also too because it just covers for its weaknesses, I guess. I mean, it's worked to grass and electric, so it can kind of swap it, take those hits. Terra type ground on Pelipper, so it's a purely defensive Terra with wide guard as well. And on top of that, the main thing that it's doing is it's going for Hurricanes and going for Hydro Pumps. There was a wide lens on there, but I'm not too sure about how good that is. I was just thinking for a second, like what else? Like what would you need that for? I guess maybe Hurricane and Hydro Pump if you just don't want to miss, right? Like that would be the main thing that you would go for. So Focus Sash Bloom as well, really good. You got the Terra type fighting. You can obviously go for Mach Punch into a bunch of stuff like Hydreigon. Stronger Mach Punch seems pretty good. White Herb Hydreigon's really interesting because you can just Draco and then like return to normal. It also covers further stat drops like Snarl or like, you know, other stuff. So it's kind of a cool concept. I'm not like opposed. I just don't know how relevant that would always be. And then you have Life Orb Goldango with Make It Rain, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam. Dazzling Gleam obviously letting you snipe other Hydreigons. And it's Terra type Fairy as well to pair with Dazzling Gleam. So actually it's pretty hard with Dazzling Gleam, which is kind of a cute concept. So I'm curious to see how that worked actually in practice. But it does seem like it'd be good for dragons. And then, you know, you have Murkrow with Terra type Ghost. Now, notably on this team, there was only one stab terrestrialization as well. And it was the Breloom. Everything else was a different... everything else was like a different Terra type. So... that's kind of a cool thing to see, I guess. So what's the like main like change-ups as well in these teams is like, you know, the wide lens Pelipper, the sets on the Goldango, and then Protect on Murkrow is also a big deal. Like that's something that most Murkrow don't run. So I'm sure it made it more annoying for opponents to remove. But in general, I'd say like all these Pokemon are worth like this kind of team concept's really interesting to me because it's literally two strong fighting types paired with like a bunch of special attackers. And it seemed to work well. I think people can definitely start experimenting away from just the standard like Garchomp, Murkrow, Goldango, Hydreigon core, right? And that actually goes into my next point, which is the second tournament that I want to talk about, which is the tournament that I hosted. Now, you might be like, Joe, you hosted this tournament. Why are you at the top? All right, so let me tell you a story, okay? So, in the Nino Pokebros, I'm gonna obviously talk more about the team and the stuff, but basically, I played in the Nino Pokebros tournament, okay? I'm at my winning in, okay? And I end up losing. It hurt. It hurt me bad. And I never used Hydreigon in my run. I used it once and it like kind of sucked. So I was like, all right, I'm going to change it real quick, right? And then I bring it to this tournament and I'm like, well, it's a practice tournament that I'm hosting because there was no tournaments today. I'm recording this on the same day as the tournament was hosted. By the way, check out the Discord if you want to be notified for these kind of tournaments. So I just host a random tournament. I messaged Alyssa. I'm like, hey, can we host a tournament? She's like, yep, we can do that. So I host my own tournament. It's free entry. It's just a practice tournament. And I decide, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to play in it. It doesn't really matter because it's my own tournament. You know, it's for fun. And yeah, I just end up winning my own tournament. So yeah, even funnier too is like I kind of went undefeated as well. So I literally didn't lose a single game the entirety of cut or anything. I 2-0'd all my opponents. I didn't lose a single game this entire tournament, which is really funny. I 2-0'd everyone I played. So the team was pretty good. Overall, I'd say that like it does show that like Tailwind is still good. It's just that it needs a change to not be like the standard Garchomp Hydreigon stuff. Because I definitely felt the difference when I had like don't get me wrong, Masquerade didn't really come to every game, but I felt the difference with like my other partners than if I had gone with like a standard Tailwind team with like the basic Pokemon associated with it. And the main reason for that is just because when you're playing like these kind of tournaments and you have like the basic like Hydreigon, Garchomp, like Murkrow, Goldango stuff, everyone's ready for like that 6, you know what I mean? But like there are 2 extra partners you have and then maybe like replacing the Hydreigon sometimes like actually does make a difference, right? And the team that I ended up using to win was this. And notably I had Light Clay Rotom, which was like very weird. Or like not weird, but like it was different, you know. I'll talk more about this team in depth. I'll have a team report, like it's full on team report explaining the team, how it was designed on Patreon. But like I am gonna make a video like talking about like how I generally put the team together, like without the EVs pretty much. So you guys will have like a video for this like up in like a day or 2. But basically, I ended up, you know, like putting a lot of time and thought into like what I wanted to do for changes, and like this ended up being really solid into the meta, I felt. And I feel like Tailwind teams that explore more options that aren't just like the standard Tailwind offense are going to succeed more. Notably as well, the second place was a Perish Trap team. So, you know, it was pretty cool. And King Gambit actually didn't come in the match, but I felt like it would have been really good versus me. And also, too, I just think King Gambit's good in general. Then down here, you know, you see some other teams, like a standard Tailwind offense team with the Hydreigon, you know, Goldango, Hydreigon, Goldango, Garchomp. There you go. I was able to say it. And interesting enough, another Quaquaval. Like, maybe this Pokemon's actually good. I'm seeing this Pokemon a lot now. So I feel like maybe people are like, people either really like Quaquaval or it's like doing well. And also too, notably, in my tournament too, like there seemed to be a lot more standard stuff that placed well. So that's, I guess that's also worth noting, right? It's like a lot more standard stuff seemed to do well in this tournament, or at least teams that you would expect. So that's definitely interesting to note. There was this cool Earthworm team that ended up making top 5, or like 5th place, sorry. That was like Earth Eater plus like Garchomp with Earthquake, and you would essentially just like spam that over and over again, and just spam Shed Tails to get in like a Torkoal or something and go for Trick Room. Like, it was a cool concept. It was cute. So I'm definitely interested to see like these kind of teams come out. I think there'll be more teams like this that'll come out, but like the Double Dragon Core is obviously still strong from what we can see. So overall, what does this mean for the meta, right? I think obviously the first one was a bit more of like a curveball in terms of like what we saw do well. And then the second one was a lot more like, okay, this is what I expected, but it was a smaller tournament, right? So basically my takeaway is Tailwind is still good, but it needs some variations to change it and make it better. I think that there are definitely good concepts with Gothitelle that you can explore, because Gothitelle has done well recently in a lot of tournaments. Tailwind's definitely still good, as I mentioned. Dondozo Tatsugiri is a big meta threat that you need to respect and always make sure that you're dealing with, right? And then on top of that, you also need to, you know, respect these Tailwind teams and then Screens teams as well. I think being ready for Annihilate stuff is still important. And like, yeah, those are the main things that we really ran into. As well, too, I do want to make a note of this. Pelipper plus Dreadnought has been creeping up in tournament top cuts a lot. So you'll see there's one here. And then there was a Beartic, a Pelipper, by the way, up here as well, which was really interesting. But they're kind of creeping up in top placements here. There's another one here. And then another one with Beartic here as well. This as well. And then if you look over here, there's a Dreadnought Pelipper right here as well in top 8. So it is worth noting that it is getting some performances, so I would definitely keep an eye out for that. But besides that, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I just wanted to talk over the recent meta changes, just talk about like what I thought was interesting from these two tournaments, and I'm probably going to be doing a more defined like meta summary like after like sometime this week, where I like break down the meta in its entirety and also talk about like the team I used to win the tournament. So if you guys enjoy that, please be sure to let me know down below. Also make sure to check out the Patreon as well. You know, if you guys would like to support me beyond the videos, like, subscribe, share the video. I incredibly appreciate you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.